All right, Grace,
Hi,
welcome back.
it's good to be back.
Your first talk that you did with me was a really interesting talk on borderline personality disorder.
Yeah.
It's been several months since we did that. How have things changed for you since being so public about it?
Honestly, it's changed a lot. And that's thanks to a lot of the viewers, to be honest with you. Other than like events in my own life, they really encouraged me to like look more into things about BPD and how I could help people by talking about it more often and making it more of like a regular thing than something people look at and are like, ooh, In my personal life, I think the biggest thing that affected me finally, or influenced me finally being able to grow, is my dad, my abuser, actually got killed. Like 4 months ago, he was found dead in a car. And I know that sounds super selfish and sounds like, it's still a human life, and I totally do get that. But for me, it pulled this like big weight off my shoulders because I didn't have to keep looking over my shoulder, if that makes sense. Like every day was not oh, am I going to get a call? Oh, is he going to show up at my job, or like stuff like that. And at first it was really hard because I wanted closure, and that was like what affected me, is like I didn't get the closure I needed. But realizing that like he's gone to wherever he needs to be a better place is cool for me, because then I get to finally live my life while I'm here and not have that like eating at the back of my mind every day. Um, Another thing is, me and my fiance got a house just a couple weeks ago, and that's really cool.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And honestly, I would say the craziest thing about BPD is it really affects relationships. It's very hard to trust and very hard to be able to love someone fully, but this person has changed my entire view on it. And I think finding your person is a huge part of being able to heal. And like obviously the issues that people have and mental health problems will always be there, but having a person who's so understanding and doesn't make you feel like you're crazy and that your small problems are not insignificant to them, like that's a big change, and it helps a lot.
I just spoke to him before we did this talk, and he really seems to get how people with borderline will have really high highs and really low lows,
Yeah,
and there's no middle ground.
yeah. And he is the most understanding person I've ever met in my life. Like so loving, so understanding, and that's helped me a lot. Like just feel myself, I guess, and not like question who I am all the time or have such a negative sense of self. Because he like takes it away usually. But
He stabilizes you.
yeah, yeah.
That's nice.
It's starting to feel like I have more middle ground days than, like you said, high highs and low lows. But also, I finally found medication that works for me, which obviously for everybody, medication's different. And you kind of have to, it sucks, but you have to experiment a little bit. And I finally found what works for me, which is awesome. Obviously, there's no cure to borderline personality disorder, but having the right medication helps a lot. It helps you not have as many mood swings, not have so many ups and downs during the day as well, just day to day. So that's nice.
Those are some nice changes
Yeah.
since last time I saw you.
Yeah, I feel a lot better as a whole, and obviously like every day there's still little things, but it's a lot easier for sure. And I've also learned that as you get older, it starts to get easier because you learn how to like deal with yourself. And that's something too, is with my boyfriend, with my fiance. He's came up with this thing, because I always will tell him like I'll have my little issues or like little anxiety or stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm so sorry you have to deal with me. And he'll always be like, it's not healing. It's not dealing, it's healing. And so we've come up with that, like, it's not dealing with you, it's healing you. And I think that's super special too.
It's great.
Yeah.
I think just by sharing your story, you're helping create the understanding of what it is to have borderline. I think that's very helpful for you and probably for other people that
Yeah.
have partners or are going through this.
Oh yeah, 100%. And addressing that too, like, I also wanted to say thank you for all the people who commented last time, positive things, not only just like, oh, you helped me, or people who reached out to me through social media, because I was able to give advice, I was able to give suggestions and help people with that. And I just want to say thank you for broadening my horizons too, because that helped me a lot. I also noticed last time that a lot of people had noticed that, you know, there's a trend in people with BPD where like they'll be really, really hateful and really mean. And like, I just want to say that a lot of people with BPD will not own up to the things that they do. And I'm sorry for the people who've experienced it, because I know the bad side of it. I know how hard it is to deal with people with that issue, because I deal with myself every day. But owning up to it and like having acceptance of yourself is going to make it a lot easier for when a person with BPD wants to find a partner, and not make that partner feel like they're living in hell every day. Like it's really about self-acceptance. And I would say another big thing is talking to a doctor is really important. Like for a long time I was really scared, and I finally like reached out, talked to somebody before I actually filmed the first video with you. And that's what got me started on like learning how to handle myself and my emotions and my issues, which is super important. On top of that, I would say definitely talking to somebody before it's too late is also really important, because a lot of people are too scared, but making it more common instead of a taboo topic is helpful for people who want to heal. It really is.
Excellent. What would you say is the most helpful piece of advice you can give to somebody who's in a similar situation?
I would say if they're struggling to talk to somebody, or like talk to a doctor or something.
You're saying a therapist? Right?
Yeah, a therapist. Like if you're struggling to get help, or like struggling with BPD, I would say the best part is to learn yourself. And that's really hard to do when you have a personality disorder of any kind, but like learning yourself is super important, and like loving yourself.
I'm sure there's a lot of people with BPD that are undiagnosed.
Oh, for sure. And usually they're misdiagnosed. That's another thing, like diagnoses are huge, because usually people they don't speak out enough, or the doctor's not informed enough. And once again, like making it not such a taboo topic would bring knowledge to it. So I think just finding yourself and being able to speak up is super important. And I would say I've noticed too, like now since my last video, I can kind of categorize like the different parts of BPD. And I used to think they were all really, really like bad, and there was no positives not positives, but easier things that come with it that are not so negative. I've noticed like for me, the positive parts is I'm pretty carefree. And I've learned that it used to be pretty destructive. Like I would just be like, oh, I don't care if I spend a bunch of money. I don't care, you know. But now it's more carefree of like, I used to stress so hard over the littlest things and just get anxious and let it build up, and then I'd get angry. And I've learned it's easier just to let it go. And now that I've learned that, it's crazy, because it's like one of my favorite things about myself is like, don't cry over spilt milk. You know, it's so little, it's so insignificant, and you can move on from it. That's like a big part of something I've learned.
How long has it been since you were diagnosed?
Almost 2 years.
2 years. So this is still fairly new for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely new to me. But I think the sooner you get it diagnosed, the better, the more you can learn about the actual disorder and yourself too, like learning about yourself.
Was there anything else that you wanted to?
Yeah, I honestly just wanted to say, like, there's a lot of things that are common with people with BPD, and it's like the hardest things are usually like the smallest things, and they're very internal. And I've noticed that a lot with myself. Like I hyper focus on things, and if I don't get them done, I feel like I've failed. Another thing I think is not talked about enough is body dysmorphia and a negative sense of self. That's something I've struggled with, and I've noticed that with BPD, it usually leads to a lot more issues like body dysmorphia, anxiety, ADHD, OCD. Like it can bring out those things, bring them to light and intensify them. And I think that's also something that is not really talked about, you know? It's like a spiral of different disorders combined into one, and it's tough, but
They all seem to be related, like OCD, borderline,
yeah.
bipolar,
Yeah.
depression, anxiety.
Yeah, I can see that, honestly. And I've learned too that like BPD is not, I know that mental disorders are inherited. Like they can be inherited depending on the person. And BPD is caused by trauma. So with that, obviously trauma causes a lot of things. And it's just always better to speak up and get help. And my point of doing an update, wanting to do an update, was just to like show people that like in that short amount of time you can get better. You just have to put in the effort. And I loved all the people reaching out to me and wanting help because it shows me that like people do want to take care of themselves. And I think that it's great to be able. Thank you for having me here. It's awesome.
Thank you for helping us all understand it.
Yeah, of course.
All right, Grace. Well, thank you so much for coming back,
Yeah.
and good luck with everything from here in your house.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.